Couple of things on the log, couple of things that are not on the log. We'll just kind of wade through the things. The aggravated assaults, quite a few domestics, strangulation cases, really no significant injuries or serious injuries out of those. The disorderlies, one of them was a threat that was made, the other two involved juveniles. Family offenses are protection orders and other reports. Frauds are ID thefts. Larcenies, I didn't have a chance to get to those. I didn't hear of anything big or concentrated in one area. Sex offenses are reports and sex offenders that didn't change their address. Nothing suspicious with either unattended death. The weapons violation, the first one, we had an arrest that was made, and this was about 1 a.m. We had some officers that saw a car driving near 14th Street and Main Avenue. They recognized the driver as a person that was on parole, and parole was looking for him, trying to contact him. And so the officers stopped the car. There were 3 people in the car, ended up finding a small amount of meth, some different paraphernalia. There was a few loose bullets, 9mm bullets, and then they ended up finding 2 different handguns inside the car. One of the handguns had been stolen from an unlocked car in Sioux Falls last September. The other one didn't show up as being stolen. Excuse me. The 3 men were all arrested for possession of stolen property, which was a stolen handgun, and then they all had drug charges, the meth and paraphernalia. The driver, he was also charged with possession of a firearm by a former violent offender, and the parole violation, and I'll give you his name first. Last name is Hillmer, Hillmer. First is Michael, Michael. Middle is James, James. He's 36, from Aberdeen. The passenger, he initially gave a fake name, so his charges, they were the drug charges. He was also on parole, so there's a parole violation, false impersonation, and possession of a firearm by a former drug offender. His last name is Carpenter, Carpenter. First is Joseph, Joseph. Middle is Andrew, Andrew, and he's 35, from Clear Lake, South Dakota. And the back seat passenger, he just had the drug charges and the possession of stolen property. His last name is Abdo, Abdo. First is Jacob, Jacob. Middle is Justice, Justice. He's 29, from Sioux Falls. Any questions about that?
And they all have like a history of, I think we saw that a couple of them were like previous escapees too from Yankton.
That I don't know. I can't go into previous history on them. Certainly the ones, the 2 that had the former violent offender and former drug offender, there's going to be some history there, but I'm not able to dig into what those are. But.
Is there any indication that the stolen weapon may be tied to ongoing investigations?
No, like whether it was used in any type of other crime, I don't know if we know that at this point in time.
Do we know how much meth was found?
It was a small amount. There was quite a few different things that had residue, and then there was, I think, one baggie that had like a gram of meth or something, but not very much. Anything else on that one? Okay. The other weapons violation, that was basically a late report, but that was an accidental discharge. Somebody fired a gun. They were handling the gun and it went off. So no injuries to anybody. We had a robbery that would have been on yesterday's log, but it was too soon to have any information. But that was in the 3000 block of East 26th Street. Happened around 7:30 a.m. We had our victim in this case is a 42-year-old man. He was inside his apartment. He said there's 2 guys that came in. They ended up punching. At least he thought they was punched several times. Later on, they ended up finding there was a stab wound to his leg. His wallet and cell phone were taken. No arrests on that. Sounds like he has some information about the suspects, or at least something that we can follow up on, so we're still looking for them. And the other thing was just an update on the death, I guess we can call it now, at the Gateway Lounge. So this happened last September 22nd. Initially, we weren't sure. There was a guy that was injured, was taken to the hospital. We didn't know if there had been some fight, if he fell, if there was some type of medical event. Ultimately, once he was in the hospital, he ended up dying from injuries, and the coroner performed an autopsy and determined that the death was by homicide. So the investigation's still ongoing. I think the detective has pretty much talked to a lot of the people, or most of the people that were there. So still making headway with this, but at this point in time, no arrests, no charges have been made.
Was the original subject that was involved in the incident charged with anything? Because you did mention that it was possibly a fight. Was there a suspect that was taken into custody?
No, nobody's been arrested in connection with this. So that was the initial call when it came out. The victim was having trouble breathing, and then he was taken to the hospital. And so there was a little bit, I suppose, confusion over exactly what happened. And so that's where we started that investigation. Basically just because we didn't know what happened, if there had been some type of assault that happened or some type of incident, or if it was medical. And so it was that initial call, things were a little confusing and didn't really have a clear picture of what exactly happened. And so the detective's been making headway and trying to clear things up, but he's still investigating it at this point.
So that's been added to the homicide list?
This would be another homicide from last year, correct?
When was the autopsy finalized?
That I don't have the date on that. Recently.
Can you release the victim's name?
Yeah, the victim, his last name is Berger, I think, Birger. First is Shane, Shane. Middle is Allen, Allen. And he's 43 from Sioux Falls.
Do you know if it was homicide, like by, trying to think of the right word, like drug related?
No, I don't remember what the exact phrasing of it was, but it was from, I guess I'll just say, a physical altercation. Maybe that's the best way to phrase it. Anything else on that one? Okay. The only other thing I was going to announce, I'll be sending out a press release on this shortly, but we've got, just wanted to announce that we have a $5,000 hiring bonus for new police officers. In the past, we had some different incentives, primarily, I think, if officers had some level of experience. This is a new change for this year, so any new officer that starts with the police department is eligible for this $5,000 bonus. It's broke down into two payments. There's $1,000 that happens in their first paycheck, and then after they successfully complete the 15-month probationary period, there'll be another $4,000 that they'll be given. So really what we're doing is just trying to hopefully get some more interest, expand our pool. The numbers, I think, nationwide have been down as far as new police applicants, and so we're hoping that this might spur on some more interest. People that maybe had some interest, this might sway them to applying. So we have several classes throughout the year. It's a great department to work for. We've got a lot of opportunities within the police department. We've got a great relationship with the community. We work hard on that relationship and certainly don't take it for granted. But if people have interest in the police department, it's extra money in your pocket just for showing up and getting hired.
How many open positions does the department have currently?
Well, there's not necessarily an easy answer to that. We are authorized for 288 officers. Right now, I think we stand at about 280 officers, but we have 35 officers that are in some stage of training. And so just based off of past, I guess, performance, we know that not everybody in training makes it all the way through. So there's a certain percentage, and certainly it varies from class to class. But so on paper right now, we're short 8 officers. Excuse me. I'll do that again. On paper, we're short 8 officers, but there's going to be some upcoming retirements. There's always people that leave, and certainly there's recruits that don't always make it through the process. So that number's somewhat fluid, but we're always looking for new officers, and I think we'll most likely have a class that'll be starting in February, and then these classes that we have typically follow the state academy, and so they have 3 a year. So the next one will probably be sometime in August, is traditionally when we have another hiring class. So
is this the first time the department has offered these kinds of incentives?
an incentive like this that's available to anybody, yes. This is the first time that we've done that.
How, the department's had a goal for a few years, several years now, to better diversify that was on the roster. How can an incentive like this help with that goal?
Well, I mean, you know, we've been trying to make strides in getting a more diverse department, but we're not going to relax our standards. So we're still looking for the high level of standards that we have already, and we're going to continue with that. Certainly having money like this and an extra $5,000 may be the nudge that somebody says, hey, maybe I should give that a shot, where in the past they hadn't. And so I can't speak for everybody. I mean, money means different things to different people and different communities. And so this might be something that may spur some people on. We've made a lot of connections with different community groups, different diverse populations. This might be something that might help nudge them in that direction. So we're just looking for that people that have interest. We've had officers, successful officers that have come from all kinds of different walks of life. You know, people tend to think that, you know, that officers have this mold that we get them from. That's not always the case. I mean, we've had former teachers, we've had bankers, we've had certainly military is a high number, but any number of different professions. And so people don't have to know anything about the job. You come here, we'll train you, we'll teach you everything you need to know. Like I said before, this is a great department. We've got a lot of different opportunities within the department, a lot of different specialty units that not everybody has. And we can offer that because we have the largest population, or largest number of police officers in South Dakota. We've got all these different specialty units. We're constantly looking and evaluating. There's just a lot of opportunities. And so a career in law enforcement is a very rewarding career. There's certainly some challenges with it, but within the department, we've got a lot of opportunities to move to a lot of different areas and work with different groups that maybe not everybody has a chance to.
Will the department be making an ask of the city at some point, maybe in the near future, to expand the number of officers that it can have?
That I guess I don't know. Yeah, I mean, there's always discussion, and you know, in a perfect world, we'd have unlimited number of cops. But the realistic side of that is, you know, there's a cost that comes with that, and so the chief works closely with the mayor and the city council, and trying to find that balance of, you know, what that number of employee is to provide that level of public service that people expect.
Is there an age restriction?
Yeah.
Up to?
That's a good question. I don't know exactly. There is an age restriction. There's the minimum level. You have to be 21, and that's state law. You have to be 21 to be a law enforcement officer, be certified as a law enforcement officer in South Dakota. The high end, there is. I can't remember off the top of my head. That information should be on our website, siouxfalls.org/police-recruit. Sorry, siouxfalls.org/police/recruiting. I think they have that information on our page there, but there is a cap on the number, and I can't remember if it's, I want to say around 45, 48, something like that, but I'm not exactly sure.
I had a quick follow-up question on the homicide. If
Sure.
that's okay. Do you know if there was anything stolen from the victim, or if there is surveillance video from?
Surveillance, I don't know that. I didn't check with the detective on that, so I don't think anything was stolen from the victim. Yeah, the surveillance, I'll have to check on that. If there is some, I'm sure they have it by now.
And you said that's being classified as a 2022 homicide? Then?
Yep.
How many were there in the city this year, in that last year then? Do you know?
I think, I don't off the top of my head. I think it's around 6 or 7. I'd have to do some digging to find that out.
And how many remain open?
Oh, you're putting me on the spot with this. So this one's open. Let's see, the one at 26 in Bonson, that one's still open. I'm not sure if there's another one that's open or not.
Gilberto's?
That was the year before, I believe. Gilberto's, yeah. So that would have been 2020.
Was that 10-1?
What's that?
Wasn't that on 10-1, October 1st? Wasn't there one? No, I don't think that was a homicide. Never mind.
Right, there was a shooting.
Yeah, I think that was on the west.
Yeah,
Gilbert.
that wasn't a homicide though. The Gilberto's on Minnesota Avenue, but that was 2020, or I'm sorry, 2021. Yeah, I'd have to do some checking on the number of unsolved ones we have.
Sure.
I think that might be it, but I'm not sure. Anything else? Okay, thanks.